Mahomes in a second, but first, here you go. High school football in Michigan. East Grand Rapids receiver Jack Mundell with a diving catch on a deflected pass for a 19-yard touchdown.
Oh, and the way that ball's thrown, you feel like that's got to be into half or into game. Just throwing it into quadruple coverage like that, maybe a fourth down play.
What about a couple different angles? We had the high angle.
Oh, you're right.
Like Fox coverage on Sundays, and then we get a sideline company. Now we got a highlight. One more down.
Wow.
Let's do it.
Wow.
Scramble rule.
That's in Michigan?
Yep. All right, next up. D2
school
football, Texas A&M Commerce versus Western Oregon. Chance Cooper stays locked in, catches the touchdown off the deflection. Watch this again.
This is a mid-replay angle change we saw there.
Oh, yeah, right off the guy's head.
Oh, give me that. What do you say that belongs to who?
Belongs to me. Every time the ball's in the air, I used to say it to myself.
That belonged to
When I got into the zone, the ball used to be traveling like it was in slow motion. And the point of it just looked like a little cross coming at me.
Here we go, FCS Division, North Dakota State, Delaware. This is Chichi Amachi. Makes the diving touchdown catch for the Blue Hens. Chichi Amachi.
North Dakota State, that's Carson Wentz's alma mater, right?
Okay, yeah.
Delaware, that's Joe Flacco's alma mater.
Yeah, he transferred there from Pittsburgh.
Absolutely.
Couldn't cut it at Pittsburgh, had to get out of town.
That's an awesome field they got in Delaware, and that is a great diving catch. Did he get any feet down is my question.
They play good football in Delaware. Been doing it there for a long time. Also, other famous alumni, Rich Gannon.
Oh, a knee down, that counts.
Yeah, knees like 8 feet.
Yep, exactly right.
All right, on to the Chiefs, where defenses have had fits trying to slow down Patrick Mahomes and that offense. Through 2 weeks, the reigning MVP is leading the league in passing yards and tied for touchdowns. But he'll have a tough task on Sunday going up against Baltimore's highly touted defense. Ravens All-Pro safety Earl Thomas said, quote, "I plan on eliminating all the big plays." Oh, okay. And I plan on not eating carbs. Easier said than done. All right, Nick, how do the Ravens slow down that offense, the Chiefs' offense?
I actually think this game is going to be more about can the Ravens keep pace to a degree with the Chiefs' offense. Not a 45-40 shootout, but I don't think you're going to be able to hold this Chiefs' offense to 21 or less. I think you're going to have to put up points yourself. See, you saw this Ravens team up close and personal, and I understand that Arizona didn't score a ton of points, but they accumulated an enormous amount of yards. They had 440 yards despite only having the ball for 22 minutes, and the score could have been quite different if 3 separate times Arizona wasn't forced to settle for field goals, not in the red zone, not inside the 10, but inside the 5-yard line. If you let the Chiefs get inside the 5-yard line like that, they're going to put up points. Now, the biggest differences between this year's matchup and last year's matchup where the Ravens had the Chiefs beat, where it was a 4th and 9, down a touchdown for Kansas City with 90 seconds left, and Patrick Mahomes made what he said yesterday was the single favorite throw of his career, the play to Tyreek Hill, is that last year's Ravens team did not have Earl Thomas, and last year's Chiefs team did have Tyreek Hill, who they're not going to have for this football game. But I think it's going to be less about how you can slow down the Chiefs' offense, aside from obviously pressuring the quarterback, which is the best way to stop any offense, and more about how much can Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' offense continue their hot streak, so they're not trying to win a game 20-17 as they tried to last year, but they're trying to win a game maybe 28-24.
Well, I think that Baltimore and what Baltimore's done is they got amazing stats. 18 to 21 years they've been a franchise. They were in the top 10 of either points, total yards, and defense. Yep. So they play defense. So to think that they're going to get into a track meet, no, I don't think so. There might be 1 or 2 games during the course of the season where their defense is not stellar, but, man, that's what they do in Baltimore. They play defense. How do you stop Kansas City? We saw last year in the playoffs, and we've seen in NFL history the best defense for a team like Kansas City is an offense that's going to grind it out, get a bunch of first downs, and keep Kansas City off the field. Right now, who currently leads the NFL in time possession? That would be the Baltimore Ravens. So for me, I think it's a very good matchup, and it's a matchup that we probably will see this matchup again. And Baltimore will have Jimmy Smith back later on. So this is not the best matchup for them. He says Tyreek Hill's out. When they get one of their starting corners, Jimmy Smith back during the regular season. So this is just a precursor. They're going to be physical. They're going to get after Patty Mahomes, and they're not going to play as much man-to-man as they played against Kyler in Arizona. So look for them to sit back. Your buddy Brandon Carr, an amazing, I think he's starting his 179th straight game. It's an amazing streak for anyone there. He's one of the leaders in that secondary, and Earl Thomas is still one of the best safeties that we have. So this should be an exciting game. But Lamar Jackson, the new and improved Lamar, going against Patty Mahomes, it's going to be a great game to watch.
And maybe I am overly optimistic about the Chiefs' offense.
Typically.
Well, last year, if you remember...
I'm going to start making you make a case for the other team. Well, because every time we go to talking, you always tell me the same thing about Kansas City, their offense.
Well, but I think I'm about to do that. But because last year, if you remember, going into the Baltimore game when the Chiefs were 10-1, that was a game I had circled as that's a game where Kansas City can get beat because the Ravens' style last year was all running. It was Lamar before he developed as a passer, and I was worried they were not going to have the ball enough. I was worried they were not going exactly what Chris was saying, that Ravens were going to be able to play keep away, and that's almost how the Ravens won the football game. The difference for me in evaluating this matchup this year with this team is I think with Patrick Mahomes in his year 2 starting, even without Tyreek Hill, with the diversity of offensive weapons, I don't think Earl Thomas is going to be able to take away the big plays. I don't think that the Ravens defense is, when the Chiefs have through 2 weeks already 15 plays of 20 yards plus, I don't think that's going to go away. But I also think the Ravens are a far more difficult matchup on the other side of the ball than they were last year. And when the Chiefs had struggled with the Ravens, and then after the Ravens game, by the way, they lost to the Chargers, they were beat up, they then lost to Seattle. They lost their only back-to-back games all year after escaping Baltimore. What Ravens had laid out a bit of a blueprint, particularly if your quarterback can be a dual threat. Last year, Lamar was oddly not a dual threat, because he wasn't doing the throwing part of it. Usually when a dual threat quarterback, you take the throwing as a given. Can he do the running? Can the Chiefs linebacking core, which is maybe the weakest part of their defense, even weaker than their secondary, how are they going to deal with Lamar Jackson, with Mark Ingram, with that team offensively? Because I do think Baltimore is going to be able to score on Kansas City. And so that's, to me, I would not be shocked if the Chiefs lose this football game. I want to make this clear. I think Baltimore is the 3rd best team in the conference. I would be shocked if the Chiefs lose the football game 20-17. But if they lose the game 31-28, I think that's in play, because I think Baltimore has shown the offense has evolved and they can score points, and the Chiefs' defense is obviously a huge unknown, and if they are a known quantity, it's in a negative direction.
If Baltimore runs the ball 30 times, the Chiefs are giving up 6 yards a carry.
Yeah.
That's 180 yards of offense. Giving Mark Andrews, the tight end, 2nd year, 3rd-round draft pick out of Oklahoma, becoming the favorite target for Lamar. This is a game. Baltimore is going to be a team that you're going to have to deal with in the AFC, and especially now that we know that Lamar's improved drastically as a passer.
You don't think they changed the game plan around a little bit, the Ravens offense, maybe have him run a little bit more because it was a little more challenging for the Chiefs last year?
Oh, he ran last week. Oh, he's running every week. The defense cannot be right. Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator, I sat down with him last Friday, talked to him a long time about Lamar's development, creating accuracy, repetition, getting him more and more reps, seeing defense and how comfortable he is passing. And I said, well, who do I give credit to in the telecast? He said, well, it's a little bit like this. I'm writing the music, and he's doing all the rapping. So I was like, okay. And that's exactly what he told me. So when they get into the game, if the defense wants to take away the run, they are going to throw it. If you do not have enough guys in the box, Lamar is not afraid to be able to run it, and they're not opposed to winning any type of way. So it's going to be interesting to see with this Chiefs defense, those new defense coordinator, 6 new starters, but is it really better?
When you think of Ravens, you think of Ray Lewis, you think of Ed Reed, sometimes you think of our friend Bart Scott, who's coming on the show. You think of defense, and you should. This year, for context, the Chiefs are averaging 34 points per game. The Ravens are averaging 41. The Chiefs are averaging 480 yards of offense per game. The Ravens are averaging 540. So I understand some of that it was enhanced greatly by that Week 1 blowout against Miami. But the Ravens offense must be accounted for. That, to me, is their path to victory over Kansas City, not Earl Thomas taking away the big plays, which I don't think anyone can do to the Chiefs offense.
The thing what Earl's trying to tell you, Earl's going to be extra deep. And a lot of those big plays, if you can get the guy on the ground and not give up touchdowns, then you get them condensed in the red zone area, and then you have a better chance of stopping them. So when Ed is talking, when Earl's talking about that, Ed Reed, he went into the Hall this year. They play a lot alike. That's what he's talking about. He's not a guy that's just spewing information because he doesn't have anything better to do. He's one of the better safeties we've had, and he's back playing at top form with that rush, and he's enjoying the transition. He was totally shocked that he would like Baltimore as much as he did. Went there, saw their facilities, like how they do things. That's why he signed that big deal with them this offseason.
All right, good stuff. Let's take a break. Coming up, should Eli Manning embrace his role as Daniel Jones's mentor? That's next on First Things First.